Good morning. Happy Friday. I am counting down the hours until it finally cools off. So I'm out here before it gets real hot on the porch because I've been thinking through some things that I promise you all at classes when I meet you. And one of the things that I love to say to new people who are learning about essential oils for the first time is that I believe it's my job to make sure that you don't get oils in your home that you don't know how to use. So I want to do a series this month in light of all the amazing new products that are coming out from convention, and many of you guys are posting about how those are arriving in the mail this week. And so I want you to keep talking about those. But in light of all the new stuff, I look at my little shelf, my little wall shelf that Josh has built me, and I got thinking, what are the oils that I use the most often? So some come out sometimes, but what you'll notice as you enter into this natural living lifestyle is that you will clearly find favorites, and they'll become so routine in your daily life that you won't even talk about them. You won't even think about it. You just grab this or that. And so you use them a lot, but we don't educate on them enough. And so for those of you who are just getting started, I feel like I've done you a disservice because you've got the most amazing and most useful top 10 oils in that starter collection right at your fingertips. And here I am talking about a bunch of things that I really want you to play with the ones you've got. So this is for my new people. If you have been a part of this public education group and you haven't snagged your wholesale access, this is the month to do it. You can get well over $70, almost $100 in free stuff if you want to go ahead and get your Home Essentials kit on its way to you. So that's a free Copaiba, which is one that we'll educate about for sure. Copaiba soft gels, which are a lot easier, and that's what I use at night. I take one of those at night every day. And then also Clementine. You'll get those three for free with your new collection that's over 200 PV, so approximately $200. That Home Essentials kit is $275. Gets you the top 10 oils that I want to be educating out as we go back to the basics. And a diffuser. So it's the best set to start with because you're going to have everything that you need for your tummy, for replacing cleaning products, for boosting the immune system, for pain management, support, inflammation, response, as well as skincare, many other things. So what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and lay out what this Back to the Basics series is going to look like. I want to do 3 oils quickly every time I hop on to educate. And I want to choose 1 or 2 from the set, right? So from the top 10. And then I want to snag 1 that maybe you haven't used a lot. So we're going to do 2 that are in the top 10, real basic, wonderful ones, and then 1 that's just a personal favorite that isn't in the set, but I use it a lot. And so today we're going to talk about lavender and Melaleuca, or tea tree oil, and basil. All right, so I'm going to do my very best to stay compliant on these things, but lavender and tea tree oil, these are ones that disappear really, really quickly in our home, and the reason for that is they're so gentle and they're so good for so many things. So when you get your wholesale access with us, make sure that you download the free Droply app. It's a resource. I'm going to be referencing out of this Modern Essentials book. This is my original book from back in the day when I started years ago, so the cover's old looking. But it can say some of those non-compliant things that I'm going to try to imply, but also encourage you to do your own education and reading about these. So lavender's the first one I want to talk about. First, I want to say, part of my story is that when I saw the oils work in our home, I was so impressed and amazed and curious as to why I hadn't heard of them before, that I joke that my nerd kicked in, and I had to know why. And one of the first things that I found when, of course, I went to Google, right? I Googled essential oils, was all these scare stories. So these just scary stories like, you know, peppermint gave my kid boobs. I mean, just weird stuff. And so, you know, when we're searching anything on the internet, we need to be really good about sourcing it and digging down and seeing what that actually means. And so I want to dispel some of those myths too, but I also want to encourage you guys to get in there and look, because when it boils down to it, I just got to a point where I was like, listen, if peppermint's going to kill my kid, I think I'd rather risk peppermint than risk a synthetic chemical medication that has 4 pages of warning labels in them. And so that was just a personal thing that I finally got to that just gave me a peace. If I can read the ingredients, if I trust, oh, super nerdy fact, if you guys haven't seen this yet. So out of convention came this really amazing, and I hope that you can grasp the power of this. Oils are not regulated. So one of the biggest problems that we have in the aromatherapy world is consistency, because one plant will be different, or one oil from one company will be synthetically altered, or there's dilution stuff going on there. doTERRA sources 98% of all of the oils that come to you directly from the grower, directly from the native country for that plant. And they have those exclusive relationships with these growers. And that is mind-blowing, because most other companies have approximately 50% exclusive knowledge of where their oil came from. A lot of them have to be bought from these secondhand vendors, especially if you're making blends that have something obscure in them. doTERRA has 98% exclusive knowledge of exactly where that plant is, that oil is sourced from, and the family that grew it. And I love that. So anyway, in terms of purity, be very, very careful, because lavender is one of those ones that can be problematic if you don't have, hey Sarah, if you don't have knowledge of where it came from and it wasn't sourced properly. So for example, I remember one sweet lady coming to one of our classes, and she had gotten her lavender at, I don't know, Big Lots, or, you know, wherever she got it. And she tried it, diffused it, and she and her husband both had these crazy, terrible, like wild nightmares. And so she goes to my friend who works with me in doTERRA. I was like, that lavender stuff is nuts. I'm never using that again. Well, she gave her some of the real stuff. It didn't happen. It didn't happen again. When you're breathing in an oil that's synthetic or chemical, it goes directly to your brain. There's no like digestive bypass that's going to protect or barrier your brain cells from getting that. So do not, please don't use chemical lavender just because it's cheaper somewhere else. This is only $20 when you've got your wholesale access, and it's 250 drops. And so I promise you, financially, this is the better bet, and you can have peace of mind that you can use it safely without all these scare things maybe you've heard about lavender. Another thing I want to dispel about lavender is that lavender disrupts hormones in some way. So this is also not true. It has been proven that that's not true. We're in the synthetic world. That can happen. There are a lot of xenoestrogens in our diet, especially. Soy products are xenoestrogen. A lot of artificial sweeteners are xenoestrogens. What that means is that when they're in your body, they behave like estrogen. And so there's a lot in our meats, right? When hormone stuff is used in chicken, for example. So you're getting a lot of xenoestrogens in processed food. They're not in doTERRA's lavender. You're not going to get that hormone disruption stuff. So those are the two main ones that I get a lot about just concerns with lavender. But again, always dilute, because this is a powerhouse, y'all. I keep this in my kitchen. Number one thing that I use it for personally is for burns. So I move really quickly and I hit the oven, I hit the pan, I grab handles that are straight out of the hot oven. This straight on a burn works immediately to relieve that pain and prevents that blistering. So just like oils, don't think of them like medication, right? So try to separate your mind from that. When you're using an oil, remember what we talk about as our number one safety concern is skin irritation, right? So don't forget, less is more frequently. Less is more frequently. You only need a little bit of this lavender, and you can use it even as often as every 10-15 minutes, especially on something like a burn that you really want to tackle. And usually what I notice is if I've put it on twice in the first 15-20 minutes of that burn, then I can already see a dramatic difference. So that's the number one thing that like shows me immediate results with lavender is burns. Another thing is bites. This is the one that my kids grab all the time. We have a lavender touch sitting out that's theirs. We have like 2 of them, and they grab those for itchy bug bites. They grab them, tap it. So what I do is, if I'm lazy, because I'm lazy sometimes, is I just tap the top and I tap it right on a fire ant bite. It helps soothe fire ant bites, stings, bee stings. All of those things are great for lavender. But we also know lavender is calming. It's calming to the nervous system. It's calming to your emotions and anxiety and stress. And it's also helpful in supporting healthy rest and sleep. So using this at night in your diffuser, I personally pair it with frankincense. That's in your set, right? And those are going to be really great at helping if you're trying to tackle sleep. Stress throughout the day. Use that lavender. Really give it a good smell. It's something that's amazing for stress. It's also great on guys. So lavender is a really good one for our men who feel stressed out, because lavender is very good, especially during those adolescent years, for balancing those mood swings that are hormone related. Now, it's not behaving like a hormone, but it does help that body regulate hormones well. So lavender is really good for that too. I'm gonna grab my Melaleuca. I make a roller of these 2 diluted in a roller. I put about 10 drops of each and then fill with the coconut oil in a 5 milliliter, or you can do the same if you want to dilute it more in a 10 milliliter roller. And this is what we used for our Boo Boo blend for a long time before I learned about some of the other amazing oils like Helichrysum and CorrectX. But this is going to keep cuts and scrapes clean. So these are fantastic for combining because they're great for the skin. So this is really good for the inflammation response, and this is really good for keeping it clean, right? And so this is a really great combination. Another thing we use that roller for is if there's any eye irritation, right? So I put a big C around the eye if it's starting to get red or pink, hint, hint. And so that is really good at clearing that. And then if you have that in your family, do it on everybody. It feels good. It's not going to bother their skin, nicely diluted. And it's going to keep that real clean and safe. Remove that irritability there. You can also do it in a big C shape around the ear. So I used to get chronic ear infections, and I would put this in a big C shape around my ear, and I saw that I didn't keep getting those infections. Kids too, when it's nicely diluted, give it a nice loop around. And then also on kids and babies, go ahead and roll it down their jawline. That lavender's really calming. You know how kids, like, they'll get an ear infection, or maybe it's a tooth and you really don't know? So if you C-shape that around the ear and then go down the jawline where they're tugging and it hurts, it's going to help with either or both of those issues. And think how freeing that is to not have to worry about paying your copay to go to the doctor and getting it all checked out. Just do that a couple times a day, and then you'll know. If it gets worse, go to the doctor. But if it soothes that sweet little one and helps them sleep, then that sets you free from as many doctor's visits. And that's what we saw in our home with our little ones. So lavender and Melaleuca is a fantastic combination. Now, chronic ear infections, one after another. This is where the Basil comes in. So I don't know if you guys have basil on hand, but basil is phenomenal. Basil smells really good. It's fun to cook with. So you can add a drop of this if you want to even just cook with that basil flavor. But this is also fantastic for ear health, okay? And it's not hot like oregano. So oregano will work. What I tell moms with babies with ear stuff going on, if you put a drop of oregano on a little piece of cotton and just set it in the ear opening, never, never, never drip oils down the ear canal. Please don't do that. That's not good for the membranes there, or up the nose either. But if you set it right in that ear opening, that's great. And now oregano's hot though. Basil is not. Basil is not like that. So basil is even more powerful for that ear support. And so this is the one that I grab when I think that that's amping up and this isn't enough. And so what I actually do on myself, and I did on my babies, is I touch the top of that basil and I just press it right inside that little piece of cartilage, right? So I'm not putting the basil down the ear, and you can even feel it. Like you can feel it open up that ear canal and all that stuff that like might feel stuck. It feels really, really good. Another thing you can do is add it to that roller with your lavender and melaleuca. This one, guess what? Also great for stings and cuts and scrapes. And it's even listed as great for snake bites if you ever got a snake bite. Grab your basil. So this is also one that's really good at pulling out stings and irritants from pests. So I am, those are my favorite uses for these three. Melaleuca is a game changer for scalp. Okay, so add this to your shampoo and you'll have less of a dandruff issue. It's also one that lice hate. So add it to your shampoo. It's going to be great for your scalp. It's also going to be great for if your class is dealing with something like that and your kids are struggling with that. You can put it in a spray bottle of water, just shake it every time, spritz their backpack, spritz their heads, and you're good to go. Melaleuca is also cleansing. So before I had On Guard and before I had points in my rewards to buy the On Guard cleaners, I made them myself. So I did half white vinegar, half water, and then about 4 drops each of Melaleuca and lemon, and that was my all-purpose cleaner. It's fantastic. The room smells good, and you know it's clean because this Melaleuca is very, very, very cleansing. This one's also great for allergy response. So if you deal with seasonal stuff, we typically grab lemon, lavender, and peppermint for seasonal stuff, but this will amp that up. So if you really deal with seasonal stuff, this is also really good there. Let's see. I love to put lavender in the bed. Love to drip it on my kids' pillowcases. I love to do my laundry and add this on my dryer ball for their sheets and their pillowcases and their loveys. There are a million ways you can use lavender. And when you're only paying $20 for 250 drops, enjoy it. If you're on the monthly rewards stuff, you're getting points back for that anyway. So I'm going to go to my book and I'm going to add some other things. And so I'm just going to fly through some other things that you can do with these oils and try my very best to stay as compliant as possible. So lavender has a super long list, super long. It's calming. It's mentioned for skin stuff. So I mentioned skin stuff, but if you haven't mixed up our Miracle Cream recipe, do it. So the Miracle Cream recipe is about a half cup of coconut oil, and then 10 drops each of lavender, tea tree oil, and frankincense. And that was a game changer for us in dealing with eczema support. So my 18-month-old flared eczema, and I started putting that Miracle Cream on her every time I changed her diaper. So it's frequent. Remember with oils, less is more frequently, more often. So I'd put that on about every 2 hours, and her skin just, I mean, you could tell. We were at a vendor event. This sweet little girl was walking by. She had it everywhere. And I told her, I said, I got a bunch, just put it on. And this little 6-year-old's like rubbing it everywhere. She looks at me, she says, can I put it on my face? I was like, yes. And so she loved it. And you will too. I wouldn't wish itchy skin on anyone. So anyway, grab that one and you will be glad you did. It's also a mosquito repellent, okay? So it's also really good. It's mentioned for jet lag. It's mentioned for post-pregnancy stuff. So it's great. Can you use something other than coconut oil? Sarah asks. That's a really good question. Yes, you can dilute with anything you want. So lotions are going to be thicker if you add some shea butter in the mix. So my sister used to put some coconut oil and shea butter in like her little food processor and get that to mix real well together. I just mash it with a fork because I'm lazy. And so you can use shea butter if you want like a thicker version for a body lotion. You can use any oil-based thing. So rosehip seed oil is fantastic for the face. Others that we like are like jojoba oil. That one's not too pricey. Almond oil's not too pricey. So you can grab any of those, and that lavender, melaleuca, frankincense combination is really a wonderful combination because it hits all your bases. The melaleuca is antifungal and antibiotic. It's going to help keep that skin clean, and it's very gentle. The lavender's good for the inflammation and that itchy response, and the redness, the irritability. And then frankincense is good for the underlying issue. So if there's stuff misbehaving going on, and the cellular support as you're regenerating those new healthy cells. So that's why it's such a good combination. All right, so back to lavender. It's also mentioned for vertigo, which is interesting. Teething pain, we mentioned. Tension. Lavender's really great for headaches. So you can put for a headache right at the nape of the neck, right under your skull, right at the top of your spine. That's a really good place for lavender. On the temples. I love peppermint too, so I like to do both of those. If you put some frankincense with that, that's going to really be calming for head issues. So lavender, peppermint, and frankincense are great for those. And so all the rest are kind of non-compliant. So just know that lavender is one that we nicknamed the Swiss Army knife and of oils, and that's for a reason, because it's the one you want to carry with you for all of the injury stuff and life and bug bites. And gosh, even if you have a kid melting down, you don't know why, hand them the lavender. That's what happens in our house. Tea tree oil, some of the stuff. Oh, it's also fantastic for bumps. Okay, so grab your Melaleuca, your tea tree oil, and touch it right on any kind of pimple. I've got one on my neck. And if you touch it right there, it will take that out. It cleans really, really well. And so I don't even dilute for that. You can. I just touch that top and I press it right on, and it'll dry it out and helps tremendously with spots like that. So I'm glad that I mentioned that. It's also mentioned for boils, cavities. It's cleansing. It's also mentioned for support with, those little things you can get on your lips sometimes. And so lemon and Melaleuca both are going to help soothe and break that up. It is antifungal, so that was great in my own battle with like yeast overgrowth stuff. So it's also great if you're itchy down there. Now, I don't know if that may be too much information, but if we have little girl itch, it just happens, right, when they're learning to wipe themselves. Get that tea tree oil, get that lavender, and I use the Miracle Cream. So it is really soothing to itchy skin, and it's very safe to use as a diaper cream or down there. And lots of other things, but those are the main ones. And I know that we go through Melaleuca really quickly. Basil, I want to mention some of the other things. It's also noted here that it's great for inflammation. So joint pain, right? Basil is helpful for that. It's also helpful when you have like a muscle spasm is listed, and even autoimmune muscle issues. So you can grab your basil and use that topically to soothe cramping or inflammation that's happening. So it's a muscular support as well. Turns out it's also really good if you happen to be losing your sense of smell, which that's fascinating. I did not know that. I mentioned snake bites, spider bites. That's another one on here. It's great in pregnancy. It helps the body transition during labor. And then, of course, wounds. It's also very, very clean. Basil is also one that's calming and good for focus. So basil is also one that you can use for kiddos who may have an issue with focus and need something gentler. So that one is also one for basil. So these are three that we use a lot. And as we do this back to the basics education, I want you to feel welcome to share these videos with people you know, especially if it's somebody just getting started, because I want you to know how to use the oils that you have in your home, and I want you to know how to see a real difference in your health and wellness and in your budget. So snag these ones because you will never run out of needs for them. And so I'm excited to hear your stories with these three oils. And snag your Home Essentials kit if you don't have your wholesale access, and you get all kinds of freebies this month, including 3 free oils from doTERRA and then a good chunk of goodies from me too. So that's in the pinned post if you want to check that out. I hope you guys are having an amazing Friday and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.